Welcome back. It is AI Week here on Mornings with Maria, where we take a deep dive into how artificial intelligence is impacting all facets of American life. One area that's crucial where America stays on top, the battlefield. Maria spoke with Anduril co-founder and executive chairman Trae Stephens with more on the race to lead in AI and the future of autonomous warfare. Watch.
We've built this company that's gathered and diagnosed the health of the most important critical structures and critical infrastructure in the world, whether it be energy, mining, manufacturing, defense assets. You see our robots climbing all over ships and subs. All that information is actually allowed for, in combination with artificial intelligence, to create and make us the best in the world at understanding material health. That's what we're focused on, is the surging of tech at the front lines of actually building things. And that's like, what we want to do is be the support layer for the folks on the ground who are actually building the things that we need to defend the country.
Welcome back. That was Jake Lucerian, the CEO of Gecko Robotics, on the changing face of the battlefield as artificial intelligence reshapes the global balance of power, with the U.S. and China competing for technological leadership. A recent Washington Post op-ed by Anduril co-founder Trae Stephens argues that America must win the AI race to strengthen deterrence and national security. Joining me now is the man himself, the co-founder of Anduril Industries and Founders Fund partner, Trae Stephens. Trae, welcome back. Great to see you.
Always good to see you, Maria. Thank you so much.
So you're joining us today from Arsenal, one in Ohio, Anduril's hyperscale manufacturing facility, as the U.S. competes globally in this AI challenge. And I want to get your take on what we are seeing behind you and how the battlefield is changing thanks to these technologies at scale.
Yeah, no, thanks. I guess I'm trying to figure out which shoulder. Over this shoulder, we have a Barracuda 500, which is a low-cost cruise missile that we've been building. And then behind me is a Fury, a collaborative combat aircraft, which is essentially an autonomous fighter plane. So there's a bunch of other stuff on the showroom floor, but I don't think you can see it in the specific shot here. Yeah, the battlefield is changing tremendously. We've moved from this era of projecting power through really high-cost, exquisite systems, whether it's nuclear submarines or aircraft carriers or $100+ million fighter planes, and we're moving into a world where we're seeing our adversaries engage with us with much lower cost systems that create an asymmetric threat. And so part of what Anduril has been working on since the very beginning is building capabilities to deter combat by creating counters to these systems that are more economically aligned with what we're fighting against. So instead of shooting a multi-million-dollar missile at a $40,000 drone, can we build effectors that take out that drone for significantly less cost? And that's sort of all of that is built into the autonomy stack for the back end of Anduril, which is all software at the end of the day, not just really expensive hardware systems.
Well, that's really fascinating, because I know we saw a little of that in Ukraine, in the Ukraine war, and it was clear that actually a cheaper drone, cheaper technology could be just as effective, if not more. I mean, Anduril at one point was a drone company, but today you're much more than a drone company. You've got autonomous helicopters, AI software for the battlefield, massive autonomous manufacturing, and winning a lot of Pentagon business. So tell us how the battlefield has changed in terms of manufacturing defense, and what can you do today that we couldn't do 5 years ago?
Yeah, it's actually really important that I'm sitting here at our factory in Ohio, the Arsenal One campus, because I think this really highlights the point that we've been trying to make more and more publicly over the last couple of years, which is that the factory is the weapon. Production is the name of the game. There's all sorts of things that we can do to develop and design and build very low-rate examples of systems that have interesting capabilities or solve niche problems that exist across the Defense Department. But it's all about scale. We in the first 2 weeks of Operation Epic Fury against Iran, we burned through years, literally years of production of some of our core systems. And the resupply of that is going to take us a really, really long time. And so our goal is, can we build systems that enable us to engage the adversary at lower cost, but also at a much higher scale of production? And so the lessons that our team here in Ohio is trying to learn and we're trying to build against are really about that primary question more than anything else. So everything that you see here, about the Barracuda, this can be assembled with just a handful of simple tools, which is wildly different than the much more expensive cruise missiles that we have in service today.
So, I mean, is AI similar to the new nuclear weapon? Is it similar to the new next internet? I mean, this is a moment in time that we are seeing revolution underway.
Yeah, a couple of years before Anduril started in 2017, Vladimir Putin was at one of the leading technological universities in Russia, and he said something along the lines of, "He who controls artificial intelligence will control the world." And so I think even if we're not viewing AI as this capability that unlocks, defense engagements for, the next century, our adversaries certainly are viewing it that way. And so I think it's really important that as a country, we have a position of leadership so that we can influence the way that we regulate these things, so we can influence the way that we're allowing it to engage in combat, and so that we can reduce the loss of lives to our service members who we're putting in harm's way day in and day out. To protect our way of being. So, I think AI, Palmer, my co-founder Palmer, often jokes that there's a reason that our company is called Anduril Industries. AI has always been core to our DNA, and I think we have to get this aspect right.
You were AI before AI was hot. You're right, Anduril Industries. But look, the Pentagon has been investing in AI-powered platforms designed to operate alongside traditional military forces. And Anduril and Archer recently unveiled Thunder, an autonomous VTOL aircraft built for missions including strike, reconnaissance, logistics, Trae. And I want to get your take on what autonomous means. What is new about the battlefield now that we're talking about autonomous systems?
Yeah, really for the first time in history, we have the ability to field systems that have enough understanding of their environments, reasoning around their environments, to be able to sense, detect, track, and then take actions against specific things that they're seeing in a battle space. Historically, obviously, this was done through command and control. It was, somebody is either piloting it or they're receiving a command from, someone that's back in a command center that are giving them the instructions to do things. But if you have read like a sci-fi book like Ready Player One, it tells a story where you're giving command intent now, and you have all of these assets in your battle space, and that command intent is sufficient for them to go and conduct the mission, all while preventing the loss of human life by taking that human operator and putting them way back behind the line. And that's really what autonomy is all about, is protecting the human life, enabling the computers to do what the computers are really good at doing, while allowing the humans to continue doing the things that they're really good at, without being at risk on the front line.
So from a regulatory framework then, Trae, what would be the priorities in terms of putting the proper guardrails in place from the government role?
Yeah, incidentally, the U.S. Department of War has been maybe the most forward-leaning organization in the entire world when it comes to discussing the implications of autonomy and artificial intelligence in combat and in situations around the battlefield. DoD 3000.09 is the directive if your viewers want to go out and actually flip through what those regulations look like. But these things have been going on for a really long time. We have close-in weapon support systems on naval ships that have been autonomously engaging inbound aerial threats to naval vessels for decades now. And I think that that it's just going to be more of that. As far as like what the software world needs from the government at this moment is just clarity. And so I think it's incumbent upon the administration, it's incumbent upon Congress to come up with some understanding of the rules of the road that they want companies to abide by that don't hamstring us to make us non-competitive with our adversaries.
Yeah, and you've got someone like Michael Kratsios in the science department driving increased money from government toward AI. And this whole technology is driving a massive investment boom across the tech sector. Venture capital firms pouring money into companies building AI infrastructure and robotics, next generation applications. Do you believe every U.S. service member will ultimately have an AI co-pilot?
Yeah, real quick, I'm glad that you brought up Michael Kratsios. He's doing an incredible job, maybe the best job in the history of OSTP for like laying out a plan for how the U.S. is going to engage on these next generation technologies. I have a ton of respect for what he's doing at OSTP. Do I think that every soldier is going to have, an AI kind of sidekick? I don't know. There's a big question around like what the concept of operation is. I don't believe in building AI for the sake of AI. I think we need to have a really good use case for how these things are going to be utilized. I would argue that, special forces, the United States has the best in the world, as you saw from the Maduro raid in Venezuela as a great example. These guys are they're next level. And I don't envision a world in certainly the near or the medium term where we take those really high-skilled special forces soldiers out of their roles and replace them with robots or anything like that. So I think it's really hard to say exactly what the future is going to look like. But I think what you're seeing with autonomous systems on the ground, in the ocean, in the air, we're going to see a lot more of that in the coming years for sure.
Amazing. And as an investor at Founders Fund, tell us where you see the biggest opportunity in terms of investing around this, because you recently warned that there's a defense tech investment bubble. Obviously, valuations are sky high in the last several years.
Yeah, there's a big difference between like a capability that needs to exist and a company structure that makes sense to deliver that capability. Valuations are completely out of control. The economics just don't work for venture capital when, your entry price is 10x what it was just a few years ago. And I think that's both on the investors that are creating that problem as well as the founders who don't necessarily fully grok the risk to their company that they're taking on by raising that amount of capital at those prices. But I do think there are tremendous opportunities, in the AI stack. Everything from the model on down, I think, is a really compelling place to be investing in compute, in chip design, in utility scale power that's required to make these things all a reality. And there's a lot of bubble, there's a lot of hype in the application space, and I believe there will be winners there. But there's a lot more going on than probably needs to be realistically.
What do you think is the biggest misconception right now on AI? What do we really need to understand better?
Well, I think that there's this belief that we're moments away from, artificial superintelligence or, reinforced superintelligence where they're kind of like training themselves. I think we're definitely on a path to those things. It's very hard to determine what the timeline is to get there. But I think there's still a lot of jobs. There's still a lot of use cases for humans, certainly in places like here in Ohio at Arsenal. We're not going to have humanoid robots building autonomous fighter planes, and at any point in the near future, we can't plan as if that's the case. Every single step in this process is going to take a very long time to figure out how to automate seamlessly. And I'm glad that people are starting to think about the societal and policy implications of AI getting better and better by the day. But I'm far less doomsday about it than I think a lot of people are in the tech community.
Well, I mean, people get fearful of things that they don't understand, right? And there's fear around jobs. There's fear around the unknown. There's fear around the potential of entering this, this new world, like you just said, sci-fi world, Trae. So you mentioned a couple of things. You've got jobs and opportunities in the AI models. You've got opportunities in the chip design, because chips are obviously critical here. And then there's opportunities to power all this up. Right? So all of that together, when you look at the infrastructure that's being built out right now with regard to AI and its impact on defense, how do you see that playing out? Assess that for us.
Well, I mean, no surprise to you and your viewers, Maria. I think the biggest concern here is primarily a political one, especially heading into the midterms here in November, where data center is on the tip of everyone's tongue. You know, as I was driving into the factory here this morning, you know, I saw a few massive data centers that were under construction just not too far from here in Central Ohio. And I think this is going to be kind of a political conversation that, you know, most states are going to be having. And we either choose to step into that with sort of a negative, pessimistic, Malthusian kind of approach, or we can look at this as a path to true abundance. And I think that there's, as I said, a lot of hard questions that we need to figure out, but every tech paradigm shift that's happened over the course of human history, certainly American history, are shifts that we have made with you know, a lot of risk and a lot of fear, and we ended up producing way more food than anyone expected, and we ended up being a manufacturing powerhouse, and we ended up, you know, making multiple bombers every day to put an end to the rise of Nazism in Europe. And so we've always figured out a path through, and I don't think this time will be any different, but we just need to be we need to like find people who have vision and who have enough optimism about the future that they're able to grab the bull by the horns and lead us into the promised land.
Bottom line, Trae, do you think the U.S. can win this and beat China to the AI revolution?
You have to believe. There's no other alternative. Not believing would be giving up. And so I don't believe that we should give up. I think we have the best and the brightest software engineers in the world that are working on these problems. And I believe that we have the best people in the world on the defense side working here at Anduril, working here at Arsenal in Ohio, focusing on production of these core systems that are going to ensure that we at least have a fighting shot. All
right. Well, congratulations to you, Trae, and Anduril. We'll be watching your work. We so appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Great to see you, Maria. Thanks so much.
And our thanks to Trae Stephens. We'll be right back, everybody.